Hello guys, buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, buonasera, buonanotte. Benvenuti al nostro 15° video. Welcome to our 15th video. And in case you haven't noticed, but I'm pretty sure that every single one of you is very much aware of this fact. Next week is the last official week of classes, and then finals week begins. And since this class has no final, this means that we have only 1 week left, right? So that's kind of a cause for celebration. Also, it is true that I did not post a video yesterday. The thing is, I have noticed that many of you have communicated this to me, are very busy with other classes, and since this class is a little more lenient than some of yours, and particularly some classes that are very important for your major, you have decided to just wait for the work for those classes to be done, and then tackling what you have left of Italian. I totally agree with that decision, don't worry. But please do not forget that this is also a class that you need to complete your work for, right? So I've decided to slow down as much as possible during these last 2 weeks of the semester so that you can catch up with everything else. That said, we do have one last very important topic, very important. As I told you on the first day of class, I remember that distinctly, and as I told you a couple times more, including the day when I announced the midterm, I remember this as well. We are committed at Hostos and at CUNY at large, at all of our community colleges, to give you the full range of the 101 experience in foreign languages. And that is the reason why these classes are 4 credits. It is a lot of material. So in order to complete the syllabus, we have one more important topic to cover. And in order to do it with all the time that it requires, and slowly, so that you guys understand it as best as well as possible, I've decided to divide this into 2 videos. And those are going to be the last 2 videos of our Italian 101 class. So basically we have 1 topic left and 2 videos. I'm going to post this one today and then the next one at some point in the next week. So that will be the final video and the final activity. So 2 more things to go, basically. Okay? The topic in Italian is called passato prossimo. And you will notice that passato sounds a lot like the English word past. So yeah, we're going to talk about the past. But for now, for this first half of our study of passato prossimo, we're going to stick exclusively to English. I'm going to do it like this because I've noticed that some of you do not have a strong enough foundation in English grammar. This, of course, is not your fault, right? Some schools cover grammar quite well, others not so much. But the thing is that understanding some very basic concepts of grammar in English is absolutely necessary if you're going to tackle a foreign language that also uses those concepts. So today we're going to talk exclusively about English, and for many of you, I am sure that this will be just a review of concepts that you studied in school, but I'm sure as well that for some of you this will be new, okay? Or maybe even some of you have studied in Spanish, so hopefully this lesson will be useful for all of those types of students. for those who know this already, for those who studied it in Spanish, and for those who are hearing about these things for the first time. Okay? The most important thing is to make sure that you understand clearly what I'm going to explain today, because these are words that we use every day, but it is very, very important to understand clearly what they mean and how they are used. So, I've said this a number of times. I know that you know this by heart already. Verbs are the words we use to talk about actions, right? And there is one special form of the verb that refers to an action when no one is doing it, right? And that form of the verb we call the infinitive, right? So here are three infinitives in English: to play, to run, to study. If you think about it, when you say to run, you're not saying that anybody specific is running, you're just referring to the action in general, right? There's no subject, no one is doing the action. So a more technical way of understanding the infinitive is saying that it is a verbal form with no subject, right? It is a verb that does not refer to anybody specific doing the action, right? And all other forms of the verb have someone as subject, have someone doing the action. So those are the conjugated forms. So I'm going to give you three forms of these same verbs, but conjugated. He plays, we study, they run. These are conjugated forms because we have someone doing the action, right? We can answer the question, who does it, right? If we say to play, we cannot answer the question, who does it? I don't know. We're not talking about anybody playing. We're just talking about the action, right? But if we say he plays, well, clearly he is the one playing. He is the subject, okay? So infinitives do not have a subject. All other forms of the verb are conjugated and they have a subject, okay? Good. So let's focus on those conjugated forms, the ones that have a subject. They have two main components. One of them we already know quite well, the subject, right? That's who does the action. In one of the examples from the previous slide, he plays, he was the subject, right? There's also another component, a very, very important component of all verbal forms that we have not mentioned in class yet, even though we have been using it all the time. Because unless it is an infinitive, all verbal forms have this component. What component am I referring to? The tense. The verbal tense. What do I mean by verbal tense? Well, the tense is quite basically when does the action happen. Okay? If you think about it, whenever you're referring to an action being done by someone, you're also placing that action somewhere in time. What do I mean? Let me give you some examples with the same verbs. They ran. They ran. So clearly the subject is they because that is the answer to our question, who does the action, right? Who does the action? They. So they are the subject. What is the tense though? When does this happen? They ran. Is this happening right now? No. Is this happening at some point in the future? No. Clearly this happened already. So that is the past tense. Okay? The tense of a verb refers to when the action happens. If the action happens in the past, we say that the verb is conjugated in the past tense. And all conjugated forms of a verb have a tense. The only one that does not have a tense is the infinitive. Okay, so they ran happens in the past. It is conjugated in the past tense. The verb to run is conjugated in the past tense in that sentence. Another example with the same verb, we run, right? Not we ran, we run, right? So who's the subject? Who does the action? We, clearly. And what is the tense? So did this happen at some point in the past? We run. Not we ran, but we run. We run. No, 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 no. That's not the past. Is it some point in the future? No. It's happening right now, right? We run. We run to class. When? Right now, right? So the tense is the present. When the verb refers to something that is happening right now, we say that it is conjugated in the present tense. One final example, she will run. Who's the subject? She is, right? That's the answer to our question, who does the action? And what is the tense? Well, this did not happen at some point in the past, and it's not happening right now. It will happen in the future, right? So this verb now is conjugated in the future tense, right? So basically, I'm showing you three basic tenses. The past tense, which refers to actions that happened before the present moment. The present tense, which refers to actions that are happening right now. And the future tense, which refers to actions that will happen at some point after right now. Okay? Now, there are many, many, many tenses, okay? In this aspect, English is quite simple, but it still has a lot of tenses, right? This list is not exhaustive. It's not comprehensive. It does not include every single tense of the English language, let alone Italian or any other Romance language, because Romance languages, Italian included, have a lot more tenses than English, okay? But nonetheless, this basic division in three tenses, past, present, and future, is very useful, right? Because it helps us determine where in the line of time, basically, we are going to place the action that the verb is referring to, okay? So again, the only thing that I'm showing you today is that conjugated forms of verbs always have a tense, because they always place the action that they refer to somewhere in time. If they place that action sometime before right now, it's the past tense. If they place the action right now, it is the present tense. If they place the action sometime after right now, it is the future. That's all for today. Again, I know that for many of you, this will have been a review of concepts you know already, but I also know that for some of you, it was an introduction. Independently of whether you knew this or not, I really, really wanted to emphasize this before we moved on to our last topic of Italian 101, which is going to be talking about the past in Italian. Okay? A very, very basic way of talking about the past. So for the activity, I'm only going to send you 5 very basic sentences in Italian, and I'm going to ask you to identify the same things that I identified here for these 3 sentences. I want you to identify the subject, and I want you to identify the tense, past, present, or future. Okay? That should be quite simple. And again, there are only 2 videos left for this class, and one of them is this one, right? So after this, just expect one more video. This should give you enough time to catch up with all the other stuff that you need to do, and also enough time to catch up with your Italian activities in the case of some of you that still owe me some stuff. The last official day of class is Friday of next week. Then begins finals week, which ends on the 22nd of May. And after that, I have 3 days for submitting grades. So I'm not going to give you a strict deadline, but I am letting you know that I simply cannot include in your grade anything that I get after the 22nd of May, right? Because there's simply not enough time. I'm going to be as patient as I possibly can, but please try to get me, if not everything, at least a big percentage of all the activities before the 22nd of May. And luckily, it's only a couple people that still owe me the midterm, but please, please, if you do, send it my way. It does not matter that it is so late, okay? Just send it my way, because it is the most important grade that we have in this class. Stay safe, stay strong. We are so close to the end. I'm really proud of you all. Ciao ciao, ci vediamo la prossima settimana.